guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today, we're talking Lady C's book. That's right, we're on chapter 5 of Meghan and Harry, the real story. Dun, dun, dun. So today, we're getting into the time of these two getting engaged. They sound like they were wreaking havoc on everybody and making nightmares for all involved. I found Lady C especially funny in this part of the book, and we'll get into why. She has to dance around a very interesting story that it's like I may have heard it at the beginning and I put it out of my mind. So we're going to have to talk about some stuff, especially concerning Meghan and a alleged past video recording. So we'll dive into that and everything else in this episode. I just want to thank you for being here. If you want to further support the show, check out Patreon, patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. We have a lot of fun over there. It's a great group. We're having lively discussions in the comments. Jay and I have been breaking down interviews given and different things that have popped up in the news with Harry and Meghan, so I definitely encourage you to check it out. I will be thanking my executive producers, and if you're interested in becoming one, again, patreon.com. All right, guys, I got to dive right in here because this chapter blew my mind. Pun very much intended. Okay, here we go. I'm giggling like a schoolgirl. Here we go. All right. Let's just say that Lady C put out there that, well, let me just read it to you from what Lady C says. So that way we know what we're talking about here, because I don't know that I was fully aware of this. Okay, here we go. So this is chapter 5, page 137. In case you want to read this part of the book, I'm going to read directly from it. Quote, "There was also her unpopularity amongst the people she had crossed in the past, some of whom would inevitably come out of the woodwork if she married into the royal family and briefed journalists against her. But even worse than that, than any of that were the, quote, hardcore porn tapes purporting to be Meghan Markle performing," and then she puts it in French, basically, some stuff. Lady C goes on to say, "I have seen the tapes. We all know that nowadays it's possible to convincingly doctor tapes. So what looks like one individual could actually be two, with the head of one superimposed on the body of another. Maybe the woman in the tapes is Meghan's doppelganger. Maybe the face is Meghan superimposed on someone else's body." She's alleging, she's speculating here. We don't know. So I Googled it because I didn't know. And this is the picture I found and people talking about what could be, very well could be, a doctored image. People have gone to point out, I didn't doctor any of these photos, by the way. People have gone to circle to show same mole, apparently similar feet. Could be somebody that looks very similar, and they've had to use these other things to block out body parts that were showing in the same image with whoever this person is. We don't know who this person is, right? But I didn't know this. Did you guys know this? Or maybe I had heard it but dismissed it. Again, we don't know. Maybe this is that, what do they call it, deep fake AI stuff? I don't know. But interesting nonetheless. Interesting that Lady C put this hypothesis in the book that, maybe it's a thing, maybe it's not. We don't know, but interesting nonetheless. My favorite line from this paragraph was, quote, "The Meghan character is groaning in a manner reminiscent of her performances in Suits." So, interesting theory. Curious to know if you've heard such a thing. Have you seen the video of whoever this person is? I'm just very curious. Minds want to know, right? Enough dancing around. Just curious about it. Interesting theory. I need to know everything you know. Let me know in the comments. Okay. So this chapter starts off with a bang. It goes from there. So much going on. So in the year between the Sunday Express exposing their relationship, remember we've talked about it ad nauseum, the Halloween pictures, when Harry and Meghan were photographed together all the way to the announcement of their engagements. So the powers that be had been able to get what they believed to be a, quote, accurate measure of Meghan. Now, according to Lady C, the Queen initially liked Meghan because she liked anybody who was bright, vivacious, and had a sense of fun such as Meghan, or one that Meghan conveyed. And this is where I do like Lady C. Lady C does a good job of trying to be very fair. She will pay Meghan a compliment when she feels like it's due, and she never beats around the bush in calling Meghan. I really don't mean those, by the way, those innuendos. I started talking about, adult videos, and here I am talking about Bush. But anyway, oh my God. But Lady C does a great job of giving credit where credit's due, talking about how intelligent Meghan is and how she's got Harry wrapped around her finger and she's got the intelligence that he lacks. I don't know that I would use intelligence so much. She's clearly very driven. She makes up her mind to do something and does it. I would say maybe calculated is the word from everything I've read about her. It's the good stuff here, though. Lady C does a good job of explaining how Meghan exerts her control over Harry. They were happy he got to play the alpha male strutting around protecting his, quote, hyper-feminine flower against potentially adverse elements while she stroked his back and clucked after him like a mother hen with her chick. So Lady C goes on to say that she felt like that Meghan manipulates Harry emotionally. We've all discussed this with the insane PDA and the claw. By the way, if you're not subscribed, I'll get you with my claw. If you don't leave me comments, I will grab you with my claw. No, but she controls Harry emotionally is what Lady C is asserting here and what we've all observed. I don't know. But she's constantly reinforcing her control over him by agreeing with him, indicating how clever he was, how wonderful. And Lady C says, I wonder if he would have seen through her if the, quote, sex hadn't been so good. My rebuttal to that is, if the sex is indeed that good, then why does he always look like this? Why is he so angry all the time? But Lady C talks about how she could fill almost a role like Diana. It's the same shit we saw in Spare, right? I'm whispering like you're my confidants and they're in the room and we're talking shit about him. All right. She fulfilled the same thing as Diana, where she'd lead him around and be mother-like. Oh, so creepy. But also, quote, she'd snap at him if he stepped out of line. She did it at Princess Eugenie's wedding in full view of everyone. I've heard this. I heard that they got into a big row at Princess Eugenie's wedding and they were fighting, and yeah, it seems like a real shit show because that's the same wedding that I bring up all the time because she decided because she couldn't get the tiara that Eugenie had, she'd announce her pregnancy at the wedding to try to steal focus. Nice, huh? Really nice. But apparently they had a big row at the wedding, allegedly, whatever. But supposedly they had a big fight there. And according to Lady C, it was in full view of everyone. And I've seen her do it on many other occasions. That's a direct quote from Lady C. But if he moved too much out of her orbit or was in danger of eluding her, she'd reestablish contact physically. This would have the effect of sucking him in again. Again with the sucking. There was no escape from her. Not that he seemed to want to escape. It was on the contrary. So, again, the theme of controlling, dominating, that claw, I cannot with these two. I don't feel sorry for him either. He's a grown-ass man. He's weirdly treating her like she's his mommy and apparently obeying, so I just wonder if he'd say the sex was still that good. She's still got her claws in him. She does in public. I just wonder about in private what that's like. But so she does. Lady C again goes into, we love William. Of course, we've heard that he was trying to slow things down and trying to get Harry to take things at a more considered pace. So we know how this went down really well, right? Harry totally listened. No, he didn't. But again, Lady C has a great quote here: marry in haste, repent at leisure. So William tried to introduce an element of caution into Harry's reckoning, even warned his brother how their mother had always preached the virtue of long-standing relationships rather than sudden passions. However, Harry had already burnt all his bridges emotionally and was now starting to burn them personally as well. So his response to William, it was aggressive, unappreciative, and resentful. He even accuses William of being jealous and trying to deprive him of his right of happiness. I'm saying it like this because this is exactly what we heard in Spare from the horse's mouth, the horse Harry. Harold and fraud. No, we heard it from Harry himself. He straight up at one point accuses William of being jealous, and at another point he accuses Charles of being jealous. So that seems to be his go-to response, and all I can think of is that's a very juvenile response. That is not a grown man who's ready for marriage and thinking like a whatever 30-something-year-old. This is a little boy. And I'm not making excuses for him. He sucks. I'm telling him grow the F up. But he's saying William is jealous. It couldn't be that his brother loved him and William was trying to look out for him. It's that William was jealous, according to Harry. So Lady C goes on to point out that Meghan could appeal to Harry's protective instincts. Again, that alpha male thing that he's walking around and clucking about. Too bad he's cucked. And she could appeal to his protective instincts and capitalize on his family's reservations about the speed at which they were headed toward the altar. And it detached him further from his support network. Again, it sounds like I'm taking him out of the people to blame. He's just as much to blame as she is. Maybe even worse in this case, because he should have known. He should have known that William and everybody else involved had his best interest at heart. But nope, he picked Meghan. How's that working out now? So there's a really interesting story that Lady C goes into, how both the Queen and Prince Philip had a good relationship with Harry. Prince Philip apparently was known within royal circles for being a, quote, an accommodating pragmatist who will always try to find a way that reconciles royal duty with personal urges. So in his eyes, sorry, my pen just fell if you heard that clicking. In his eyes, there'd be no better outcome than Harry and Meghan pursuing their relationships without matrimony until all the doubts were cleared up. And if they were not, then Harry could still remain with Meghan, but without that, ultimate commitment, without getting married. So it sounds like Prince Philip was trying to help. The quote that Lady C says, she said that she heard it from two different people, or it's widely reported that Prince Philip said, quote, "We step out with actresses. We don't marry them." She goes on to explain this wasn't him being snobbish. The qualities that make an actress successful are the absolute opposite of what makes a good royal duchess. And there was no doubt in his mind that it would be unfair to both Meghan and the monarchy to expect her to fulfill a lifetime of royal duty with a fully developed personality at odds with the requirements of the royal role. And now the part that's going to make you real mad, because it made me real mad. Harry. I just hate that guy so much. Here we go. All right. According to Lady C, Harry was so desperately in love with Meghan and willing to do, quote, anything to keep her, he discounted his grandfather's suggestion with the intensity of an addict being threatened with deprivation. He informed his grandfather that he would be marrying Meghan no matter what. It gets worse, don't worry. He ends up telling the Queen, quote, he was going to marry Meghan, and if you don't like it, you'll just have to suck it up. The Queen, according to Lady C, had never heard this expression before, but being an intelligent lady, kind of got the gist of it. Here's the worst of it. You ready? I would say telling the queen, your grandmother, to suck it up. My grandmother was a queen, but not the queen. And I would never say suck it up to her. That is horrifically disrespectful and everything else. That's just horrendous. Okay. This is the worst part. You ready? Harry then issued, again, I got to say allegedly, according to Lady C, from this book, I'll tell you, page 149. Ready for this? Harry then issues the, quote, coup de grace by telling his grandparents that they would be accused of racism unless they agreed to the marriage. Of course, Harry knew only too well that Meghan's race was not a negative to the family, but a positive. But the public would not know that. So this was his ace in the hole. Think about that right there. He is straight up threatening the queen with this. And he knows it. And it's so disgusting. Again, this was a woman in her 90s. And her husband and dealing with these two petulant children and trying to make everybody happy and trying to do what was right and actually try to look out for Harry and say, hey, bud, make sure she's the right one. Maybe you want to slow this down. And he straight up threatens them, again, allegedly, according to this book. It just really disgusted me even more, and I didn't think that was possible, about both of them. And yes, I'm saying both of them. They're both disgusting people. And it's disgusting of Harry to talk that way to his grandmother and the Queen of England. So you can imagine how well this went over. The family didn't lay into Harry like I believe they should have, but the fears were, of course, already there, and it sounds like grew even more intense because the appearance was that she loved what she could achieve as a result of being Harry's wife, rather than actually loving him, and that was her motivation. Still during this time, they were showing Meghan how welcome she was, inviting her to Sandringham Christmas and inviting her to these Boxing Day celebrations. Apparently there was a shoot that she had a real problem with, and instead of handling it like a big girl, she threw a fit because that seems to be the only way she knows how to communicate, both her and Harry. And what Lady C points out is, quote, what gets me is the underlying disrespect she seems to have for anyone who disagrees with her. I really think, and this is my personal opinion here, it all has to do with the narcissism. It's the same thing that comes up over and over. Why does she dress so crazy? Because she believes she knows best. And even if there were people telling her, hey, you need to fix your bra or whatever, get some better undergarments, whatever it is, she will not listen because she believes she knows what's best. If somebody dares disagree or have a differing opinion, she will not listen because she believes she knows what's best. And while we all have that to some degree, it sounds like it's off the charts with Meghan. And that's where I one of the huge problem lies is that, well, the lies, but also if you don't think you can learn from anybody else, what does that say about you and your sense of self? It's the most inflated I think I've ever seen between the two of them. So the chapter wraps up with her side of the family and how horrible her father was being treated in the press and how they weren't handling it particularly well. But Lady C points out that what became known as the Markle debacle could have been handled so much better by Harry and Meghan. They had everything at their fingertips. All it took was hiring people, lawyers or whatever it was, communication strategists, to help Tom Sr. and Samantha and whoever else, to not make things go down like this. Of course, we know that would never happen because why would Meghan want to help anybody, right? It doesn't matter that it sounds like, according to Lady C, her dad bankrupted himself helping her, but she would never want to lift a finger to help him, it sounds like. So the chapter ends with the awful story that we've been through in detail about her father cooperating with the paparazzi, stage photographs, that sort of thing, and how basically that was that. I mean, he had his second heart attack, and that's when Meghan stopped speaking to him. And apparently, according to the book, Harry berated him by text. Amazing how that detail is left out of Harry's telling of events, because they always have to spin themselves as the victims. So the chapter ends with, quote, "The palace's worst nightmare, at least until Meghan and Harry bolted, had now begun in earnest." And that's how that chapter ends. So we will pick up on chapter 6, which is page 154 if you're reading along with me. Thank you so much for watching. I really enjoyed this chapter and this part of the book. I'm interested to read your comments on this one. I learned some stuff. I saw some stuff. I got nauseous over some stuff. And yeah, just a lot of detail in this book. Again, huge thank you, Lady C. I love the writing here, and I want to be friends with her, and I want to pet her dogs. So that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and for supporting the show. And if you want to further support, again, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps, where you can become an executive producer. So I would like to thank my executive producers so much for all the support. So a huge thank you to you guys for supporting this show. I really appreciate it. So a huge thank you, Linda. Thank you to Melissa. Huge thank you, Paige. Thank you to Teresa. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mr. K. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Aaron and Frank. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Ann M. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Ann H. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Kay King. Thank you, Glynis. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Dewey. Thank you, Patty. Thank you to Adair Becker. Thank you to Erica. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Barb G. Thank you, Diana LOL. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Allison B. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Pauline. And thank you, KT. Thank you, Jolene. Thank you, Stromboli. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Carla. And thank you, Lois, for being here. Really appreciate all of you. If you want to become an executive producer, check out patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps.